Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's workshop. Dolls, I'm really excited about sharing this project. So I've got this little armoire that I made back in 2021 when I first started the channel, and I made it from a Houseworks kit. It's really nice and sturdy, and I really like it a lot. But when I look at the smooth, plain doors, they almost look sad to me, like they want some help. So I want to add some extras to it to make it look a little bit more interesting. Now I've got this really nice paper lace and it's got quite a few different patterns and designs on it that I think may look really nice. I think it can make it look as though there are carved patterns in the wood. Now I actually used some of this paper lace on a bed before I dressed it in a previous video, and I will leave a link in the description. So I was playing around with parts of the pattern trying to decide which parts I wanted to use for this project. Now this piece I'm holding is actually the center of the paper lace. I actually cut it out and I'm using the sides. But I really thought this portion was pretty and I was trying to choose a piece that I could use to add to the drawer. And I really wish I had two of these because I think this center piece would have looked nice on the doors as well. I really like the center design, so I'll save it for next time. And although I've already made my decision, I'm always considering the possibilities. Now I needed to trim it off a little bit more so that it wouldn't go into the seams of the armoire. So I'm matching up the patterns so I can trim it off so it'll be even. So when it comes together at the opening of the doors, it'll look like it's one continuous piece. So while I was mulling over my idea about how to add the paper lace to the door panels, now here I'm laying the pieces together to make sure the patterns match so it doesn't look mismatched when I glue it down. Now that I know that the panels match, it's time for me to get the glue. And I just looked at the bottom and confirmed that yes, it was 2021 when I created this little armoire. It's hard to believe that I've had my channel for almost 3 years. So I spotted a really nice piece of the lace that I wanted to cut out and add to the drawer. I chose a nice piece that fit nicely between the drawer handles. Now I wanted the design to be kind of similar, but I didn't want it to compete with the doors, but just sort of give a nod to the same concept. So let me see if my calculations were correct. Yes, I think I trimmed it off just right so that it'll fit right around the knob and lay in the seam, and the end of the design is not going into the corner where the hinge is. Now I am going to trim off this little piece just to make sure everything is level. And you see here I'm lining up the second piece again, putting it around the knob so that the two pieces meet in the center. And I think that looks really interesting. I think it looks nice. To me, it reminds me almost like as a sunburst design, but in paper lace. So my process is going to be kind of similar to what people used to call decoupage. And again, I did something similar to this to a bed, and I will leave a link in the description. But let me first move Marguerite's and Sadi's things out of the cabinet because I don't want any of their things to get damaged. So let me put them in a safe place. And dolls, remind me where I put them. I have this weird tendency sometimes to put things safely away and then I don't know where they are. Now I'm going to put them here in this cute little blue box. I probably should put it in one of the dollhouse bedrooms, but for now I'm going to do this because I really don't want to get up from my desk and go sit at the dollhouse because I might get distracted and start to play. So now I'm going to go ahead and add a little glue to the paper lace and add the little piece to the center of the drawer to, again, make it look as though it's some type of intricate carving. So I'm adding a very sparing amount of glue on the back piece of the paper, and I'm going to place it right on the front of the drawer. Now, it would definitely be a good idea to mark it to center it, but I didn't, dolls. I did my usual eyeballing, and I'm not absolutely sure that it's straight, but I did take a little time to try to do a few adjustments to make it centered enough that my eye wouldn't immediately pick up what was inconsistent. And after I was satisfied with my centering, I allowed it to dry. I actually set it aside to make sure it was completely dry before I went on to the second part of my process. So while the drawer is drying, I went on to add the lace pieces to the front of the doors. And I played with it a little bit more because I do believe in doing dry fit, try fit. Although I'm not really big on measurement, I am really big on how it looks to me visually. Now, Daddy was way more of a perfectionist than I am, but he would always tell me if I was going to do something and I look at it and it didn't look good to my eye, then I need to fix it. But if I look at it and my eye feels satisfied, I go forward with my plan. So here I am adding the glue sparingly to the paper lace, and you definitely have to do this with a gentle touch because although the paper lace is a decent grade paper, when you add the glue, the moisture makes it soft and a lot more fragile. Now I'm using the edge of the lace and the little handle on the door as my guide, and it needs to line up to be right there where the split is and not to go any further over than the edge before you get to the hinge. And again, I had to do it with a really gentle touch because I didn't want to tear it. I do have some more of these lace pieces, but I don't know where I put them. Again, they're tucked away somewhere safe, so safe that I don't know where they are. So I didn't want to risk messing this piece up and then only having one door done. And I gently added the glue and did the same thing. And then after I coated all the parts that I thought were necessary to be coated, I went on to place the lace the same way right along the split of the door and around the handle, making sure it stayed in the same alignment as the other lace piece. And I think that looks really pretty. I haven't even done the finishing on it, but I really, really like the way that looks. To me, it makes it look a lot more regal and dramatic because the original style, I just thought it was a little bit plain, and plain really isn't my style. Now, I did tap it here and there, trying to make sure all the pieces made contact with the front of the door, but I'm going to allow it to dry. I am so thoroughly amused right now because I really like the way this looks, and I haven't even completed the finishing. So let me go ahead and show you the next part. So now that it's dry, I went on to use some of my actual wood stain. And this, I'm not really sure what this color, it's actually contaminated. Yeah, that's what it is. It's actually a color that's had brushes put in it that were not clean, and so this is the color that it turned. But it actually turned out okay for this project because I did want it to be dark so it would stand out against the lighter color, and I really, really think it's giving a really nice effect. Now, I wouldn't advise you to contaminate any of your wood stain to get this. Any color would do, especially as long as it's darker than the other wood, but I really, really like the effect. Now I am going to go ahead and apply a coat of the contaminated wood stain all over the wood and allow it to dry. I mean, it's not that contaminated that it's not going to do what I need to do, but the color is not a pure color that it was originally designed to be. But I think the little extra tint to this cabinet makes it look a lot more interesting, a lot richer, and more antique. Dolls, I tell you, the more I look at this, the more I like it. I'm so glad I went ahead to add this paper lace because I really think it makes the cabinet a lot more interesting. And I added a little of the dirty stain to the drawer as well. And then I set them both aside to allow them to dry. Now that the glue and the dirty wood stain are dry, I'm going to go ahead and add a coat of the matte Mod Podge over everything. And it's going to look a little cloudy as I apply it, but no worries, dolls. It's going to dry absolutely clear, and this is going to seal in the paper, the stain, and everything, and preserve the work that I've done on this piece. I really think it makes it look as though there's a carved wood design of some type on the face of the doors to me, that which makes it look a lot more ornate and antique than its original design. I'm so excited about what it's going to look when everything is good and dry. Now, there's a dual purpose for the Mod Podge because not only is it going to seal the paper in, but it's going to penetrate the paper lace fibers and cause the paper to stick to the surface of the door, especially the parts that didn't adhere properly during the first glue application. So that's why I'm taking my time to make sure I get it in all the little nooks and crannies. Now, this is definitely a part of the process you want to take your time with. Don't put the Mod Podge on really thick. You want it to go on nice and thin because you still want to see the texture of the paper lace. If you put it on too thick, you might not be able to see the texture. Now, dolls, if you've enjoyed this video today, definitely let me know in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, always look for me on Mondays and Wednesdays after 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye bye now, dolls.